Welcome to the Iowa Chill Show here on August 29th. I'm Nathan Krieps, joined by my co-host, Bryce Bortscheller. Bryce, I'm going to give you a number here. You tell me what you think this number means. 1,336.
The number of days since season 2 of the Iowa Chill Show.
Is season 2 the last time you and I recorded?
I think so.
Then correct. Good guess. It's kind of a ballpark. I'm not sure if that's the exact amount of days, but yeah.
Is it worthy? Is it worthy of a beer crack because we're back?
We're back. Shout the Easy Eddie, not a sponsor, but we just love it so damn much, and college football starting up tonight.
Nate, I was so pumped to once again fire up the Iowa Chill Show, but I was even more excited to have a beer with you and just talk about the start of college football and everything else going on in life.
Yeah. Although that we're back with new equipment. We got upgraded mics. I got a boomstick. I got an adapter. I got a cable that goes into the adapter that does something. And all this wouldn't be possible without a good friend of the show, Ryan Dozer. Thank you, Ryan Dozer, for getting it set up. He's got his own podcast, about 5,000 followers. If you're a local Iowan looking to feed off another local Iowan's brain, talking digital marketing, artificial intelligence, and how to make a little money online, Ryan Dozer's your guy, Doser.
Yeah, he's got a good little podcast going, Marketing Quacks, and we definitely appreciate him helping out. Man, we look good. We look like we're super official, got the mics going, got the headphones. It's kind of an adjustment getting used to the headphones, I'm not going to lie.
I know. I kind of like it, and I kind of don't. I'm still going to figure it out, but we'll go with the swing. But although it's been 1,300 days since the last time you and I got behind the mic and shot the shit, the format of the show really hasn't changed. We're not going to do a whole bunch of interviews this season. We're going to be talking your daily Iowa news, anything crazy exciting that we think is worthy. We're going to be briefly covering Iowa and Iowa State football. And when I say briefly, we're not going to statistically drown you. We're your average Joes that have had their 10 to 15 beers on a Saturday, telling you why we're frustrated, why we don't believe in this team anymore, and at the same time, why we believe our team is going to be the national championship this year. And we're going to lock that. We're going to follow that up with some 3 lock bets of the week from us. And then the cap off the show, we're going to do one of my new favorite segments that we're adding on this year. We're going to be doing a little ranking list. This week's segment will be Bryce and I will each be ranking our 7 favorite towns in the state of Iowa. I can't wait for that.
Pumped for that segment.
So stick around here to the end. That's how we're going to do it. But Bryce, give me the scoop. How was your summer? What have you and Iowa Chill been up to?
It feels like the summer just flew by. I don't know about you, but you wait all year, especially in Iowa, for that good weather. And then those 4-5 months that are just perfect fly by. Lots of golf, a couple family trips, and then we got one more trip to Utah coming up. But it's been a great summer, man. I feel like we had the nicest August of all time. Made the most of it on the course. Slowly getting better. Lowering that handicap. Yeah, man, it's just been a lot of Iowa time. I think the one thing that I'll say about traveling is that I want to get it all done from November to April. The best time in Iowa is May through October. And I don't want to go anywhere but here.
You think so?
Yep.
If you had to golf at one course in the state of Iowa, where would you go and why?
So we actually just filmed an Iowa Chill YouTube video at the Amana Colonies.
You were playing with that huge tornado that hit
Greenfield.
Greenfield,
Greenfield,
that
Iowa
ended up being like
hit.
the strongest rated tornado in the history of the United States or something like that by when they recorded the wind speed.
Yeah. So Greenfield got demolished and terrible what happened there. Maybe we'll talk about Spencer, Iowa too with the flooding, but cool to see a few of the communities just come together in tough times. And then even cooler that a guy like Bradley Gebby gets hooked up with brand new Callaway clubs after his $3,000 to $4,000 set gets wiped away in a tornado. So yeah, we did get to play with him over at the Tournament Club of Iowa in Polk City. So Polk City and TCI Tournament Club of Iowa are probably up there. But we did film 2 weeks ago at the Amana Colonies, and that lives up to the hype as well.
Oh no! Was that your first time playing there?
It was, and it ate my lunch. We played a best ball, 2-man best ball, and
that's better.
We ended up scoring okay. Yeah, if I would have played own ball, it probably was a score above 100.
Yeah,
it was tough.
I always tell people you can make a living off my lost balls found at the Amana Colonies. I've only played there once, and that was atrocious. Beautiful course. This ate the living shit out of me.
Yeah, dude, it's tough. And this is my 3rd full year playing, so honestly, it just kind of feels like every year you come in with a little bit more confidence, and it's been like way more fun this year. But man, it's a tough game.
The nicest August of all time.
I know. Yeah, we got lots of rounds in, and honestly, the game feels as good as it should be at the end of the year. I know you're coming down for a tournament here in October. We'll play at Glen Oaks Country Club in Des Moines for the YP Open. But yeah, dude, it's been chill. What about you? What's your summer been like?
Well, you know, the first half of the summer is planning a wedding. Your boy got hitched this year.
Yeah.
And what a day, bro. That has been my summer. Was that best day of my life? Surrounded with the best person in my life, including the best people in my life. And we partied hard. I didn't feel right for at least 4 to 5 days after that. Not only did we have the wedding, but we got a surprise visit from Herky the Hawk.
You got a Herky the Hawk.
Tell me about your side of the story when you're sitting there, because I blacked out.
So first of all, congrats, and it was so much fun. We had a blast, and I knew that we would. It was a bunch of old college friends, and honestly, like one of the better weddings I've ever been to. From the Herky angle, I had no idea, and it sounds like they kept it pretty well under wraps. Like it might have been 2 or 3 people that knew in total that he was coming and making that surprise visit.
It's a hell of a secret.
What an entrance!
Oh, I was like a little kid, and then I had a dance off with them. And did you see the dance off?
I did, yeah. So I believe you guys got down to Bar Song by Shabuzi.
Yep. Everyone always tells me when I hear that song, I think of you and Herky's dance off. But towards the end of the dance, Herky spread his legs, and I was gonna go slide through him on the dance floor, you know, like a cool exit. Yeah. It was so sticky. As soon as I dove over the floor, I just stopped. I didn't move a centimeter. And I had the biggest freaking bruise. It looked like a belt bruise on your waist, you know, right on the hip. The next day, I didn't move a centimeter. I might have moved backwards. That's how bad it was.
First of all, I think you won the dance battle, and a testament to the wedding crew. Pretty much everybody in your party stayed on that dance floor for most of the night, and by natural causes, it's going to get sticky.
Yeah, and the reason why I didn't feel good for 4 to 5 days after, because we had a good crew there.
Yeah, it took us a minute to recover too.
Oh, you got a draw? Oh, that's smart. Did you put that in the freezer?
I did.
Oh, okay.
So another Iowa brewery, the Iowa Brewing Company.
Is there like specific cups? Is there specific cups that you can put in a freezer? Or like glasses, I mean? Because I put one in last night. I was going to do the same shit with this Easy Eddie last night. And my wife was like, no, don't do that. Don't do it. It's going to break or crack. So then she had me all paranoid. So I didn't get the joy draw.
I don't know. And I remember my dad doing it as a kid. So I gave it a shot and it worked. Didn't break. But I am like number 1 in the nation of breaking dishware and glasses. I think I've gone through 4 or 5 bowls and cups this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's becoming a problem, and I'm a little bit worried about when we move to our new spot.
Excited to grab it and you just drop it, or just kind of a little clumsiness?
It's definitely the clumsiness. It's the hurriedness to get done with unloading the dishwasher.
Okay.
I just want to be done with it. And I think I get
sounds like my anxiety when you got to fold the laundry. I just want to fucking get it done with.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just not taking my time and being mindful of the dishware.
Okay, cool. Well, just like that, Bryce, we're fucking here.
Can I bring up
my legs? But I'm excited. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I bring up one more thing about your wedding?
Yeah, go ahead.
When we last recorded, it might have been hard to imagine that we'd be in the spot of engagements, weddings, a lot of our friend group, honestly. But congrats again. I'm glad we're here. I'm glad we matured a little bit. Hopefully the next round of the Iowa Chill Show can evolve. Congrats again.
Appreciate it. You see the background?
I love it. I need to work on mine. So we're actually in the transition of moving. So it might look different in a few episodes. But yeah, dude, you've got a good start to that backdrop.
Wait till the basement gets finished. I just brought a solar panel home. I'm in the doghouse. Yeah. And I've been telling Matt, I'm going to bring a solar panel home. So I finally got a solar panel home. And I'm going to hang, it's all black. It's sweet. I'm going to hang it up on the wall and draw like Hawkeye logos on it. So it'll be a bunch of little Hawkeye logos with like marker painting on it. I have not got that far yet, but I brought it home. Madison's like, that's way bigger than you said it was going to be. It's so big. It's just sitting in our garage. It hasn't moved a single inch.
Did you just look at her and say, get ready for a lifetime of this, honey?
Oh, she knows.
Yeah, she knows what she's made for, dude. You got a good one. Okay, hold on. I keep side railing us. Do we need to get into some topics, or are we good?
Yeah. Enough of us. Let's get into a little Iowa news here. But like we started, dude, this was the nicest August ever. August is usually the worst month of my life. there's a month where I could choose not to live, it would be this month. It's terrible. Not this year, dude. I was talking at work today. I was like, God, I haven't done any fishing. I have my fishing license. I haven't done any. I'm like, what am I doing? Oh, I'm like, I've been freaking golfing the entire August. The entire summer, but mostly August. It's because it's been that nice.
It's been amazing. And I know that you have your certain feelings about the Iowa State Fair. We've talked about this within the last couple of weeks, but record numbers set at the fair, and 100% because it's been 70 degrees and sunny for most of the month.
Good. That makes it a whole lot more approachable for me. We'll get into that. We'll get into that in another episode in the future about my differences with the Iowa State Fair. But that's half the battle right there. Have a nice weather at that thing.
You add a crowd with 90-degree heat, all of a sudden all the fun's get sucked out of it.
Yeah, just being miserable the entire time. Bryce, this is one of my favorite news this summer. Actually, in the past year, and it just happened recently. Keith Murphy and Andy Fales just recently retired from KXNO in Des Moines after 15 years doing a podcast every single day for 15 years. They finally just retired, and it broke my soul. I was not good for a couple weeks.
Sent shockwaves through the sports media world for sure.
We've done a podcast with Keith Murphy. Chill dude, I love him. I almost think of the new Iowa Everywhere Mafia is what I call him. Led by Chris Williams. What would you call him? A podcast or a reporter for the Iowa State Cyclones? He's kind of teamed up with Chris Hassel to make them their own Iowa media empire, covering everything in Iowa. Love them. Two guys named Chris. Love them. Murph and Andy are joining them. Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing I've ever heard. I'm going to love that show. They kick off Labor Day on Monday. I will be watching.
Yeah, dude. I was in the same boat. Definitely sad to see somebody like, I think of Keith Murphy as kind of a titan of the Iowa sports world. And to see him go was definitely going to be sad. And I'm glad that they scooped him up. Still actually hoping to meet up with Chris and a couple of the Iowa Everywhere guys here in the next couple of weeks after things slow down and you get in the flow of football season. From what I remember, Chris is a Cyclone Fanatics blogger and has done a lot of great things with the blog, and then obviously has moved as, social and the world of blogging evolved into the video sphere. So they're crushing it.
Oh, they're absolutely murdering. So just tip of the hat to them over at Iowa Everywhere. They're one of the big reasons why I want to get back on the podcasting. So if someday we could be a rival with them, that would only be a goal of mine. Until then, it's something to look forward to and keep, cheering each other on here in the state of Iowa.
For sure.
Another thing that's came out right before we get into the sports here. Have you seen the new Evansdale Taken Together, Who Killed Elizabeth and Lyric documentary on HBO Max?
So we started it last Saturday. And here's where I sit on those kinds of documentaries. When there's not football on, when there's not NBA or college basketball on, you could find me more willing to watch those kind of documentaries. Yep. It's not my favorite thing to watch. So we've gotten through one episode, and it was very well done. Did you already mention that it was a UNI guy that directed?
Correct me if I'm wrong, whoever's watching out there, but Dylan Sires, I believe his name is, a former UNI Panther. Yeah. In the documentary he said he grew up and is originally from Evansdale.
Yeah, and from what I've seen so far, it's so well done. Obviously a tragic story, and sounds like there's still some loose ends to be tied up, and close to home for us. We're UNI grads. If
Yeah, I drive by the abduction scene every day on work. It's right off the highway. It's just crazy stuff like that can happen right here in our backyards of the state of Iowa. But hopefully a podcast so well done like this, informative, can create a little spark back up in the case. I'm not saying the case was dead or anything like that. Obviously it's not, but hopefully it just gives people interest a little bit more in knowing that, hey, we're with the Cook family. We're with the Collins family here. And let's hopefully at some point we get some closure for the family, the community, and for the state of Iowa, because we all care about this. You hate to see it. So thinking nothing but the best for them. But a very well done documentary, really informing me what happened that day and how the families were infected.
What's your takeaway from the documentary, and how much did you know of the case before watching?
So I was trying to think. Most cases like that, you would remember like where you were doing at that specific time of the day when you found out. And honestly, with this case, I wasn't. I didn't know where I was at that time of the day, but I've always known about it. Once I came to UNI, I probably heard about it when it happened. I just don't remember that much about it. I was thinking this when I found out this, like you said, during off football season. It's not something I would probably get into, but it having to be right here in our backyard,
Of course,
state of
yeah.
Iowa, I was excited to watch it, learn more about it, and like it's very well documented. There's more. I don't want to. I don't want to ruin it for you. I'm not going to ruin it for you. Just go watch it. The second season, there's more stuff going on with it than I thought that was connected throughout the state of Iowa. It makes Iowa not look very good.
Yeah,
But,
I know. I mean, to be fair, this stuff happens everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's always a little scarier when you have stories that are so close to home. And yeah, aside from let's just talk about the production of it. Well done, Dylan. Very well done.
He was interviewing from like every like how many times throughout 4 years? He would just ask him the same question as him.
A great a journalistic integrity is at a premium, and just it seems like when something blows up from Iowa, whether it be a sports figure or an actor like a Matty Poppy type, like we come in with a bang, and it's not like we're getting a Super Bowl contender athlete or, a Hall of Famer every couple of years. But when we do, I feel like we're making a splash. So just cool to see that, that level of journalism in the state of Iowa. Unfortunately, not a great, happy topic, but just super well done. Look forward to seeing the rest of it.
Yeah. We'll catch up again when you finish that. But that is it for our news here. Bryce, it's August 29th. I mean, come on. That means college football here on a Thursday. I thought week 0 here just last Saturday. A lot of people bitch about it. I'm like, screw you guys. That's great football. I'll take any football I can get. Georgia Tech with a walk-off kick in Ireland to beat number 10 Florida State. I mean, and then New Mexico Lobos, Nevada are all projected to get blown by 3 to 4 touchdowns, all make it a last-second comeback from the opposing team. I'll take any football I get, and that's the type of football I got. Awesome. Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'm not going to complain. I was watching a little bit before we hopped on. It's Rutgers versus Howard, right? It couldn't be less entertaining. So ugly. But it's football, man. It's good to see and hear and just breathe a little bit of football again after, a 7-8 month break. I feel like these days they're trying to stretch that season out as long as they possibly can in the NFL. So that makes the winter a little easier to digest. But, man, I'm pumped. I know we're getting into Iowa State and Iowa content. But just to even see a glimpse right before hopping on here fired me up a little bit more.
Like you said, it was the ugliest game I've ever watched, and I couldn't love any more of it. Oh, man. Yeah.
There's like the scrappiness that you see from every team.
There's some good games
scuffles and
yeah. Minnesota versus North Carolina.
Yeah.
Who else we
North
got?
Dakota State and Colorado.
North Dakota State and Colorado. That is an awesome game.
So I know that we're sharing a bet slip and some of our locks of the week. I actually had that Colorado North Dakota State included. So I'll let's
just do our best right now. I don't want to hop in the Iowa State schedule.
Okay. What do you got? What are you looking forward to this week? What do you see on the slate that's a guaranteed lock and big hitter?
I'm going to go right on the same subject you were talking right there. I got North Dakota State covering 10. The premier FCS school. I watched them come into Kinnick Stadium in 2014 maybe? I mean 2014, 2016, and they had a walk-off field goal. And my cousin used to play basketball at North Dakota State, so I heard nothing but shit talk all week. We're gonna bring more fans than you guys. Obviously, they bring more fans, but they travel.
Yeah,
they are very proud of their school there, and where they go, they don't leave easy. They haven't been the North Dakota State that we know of. The last couple of years, it's been South Dakota State's league, but it's still North Dakota State.
Yeah. So like I said, I had them on my bet slip, and this will come out tomorrow morning, likely. So I didn't put it on my official slip. I love that 10.5. I think that 9.5. I think that plus 7 is probably in play. I think that they are projected to be number 2 in the Valley and have obviously been dominating the Missouri Valley and the FCS championship run for the last 10 years. I'll segue that in saying that South Dakota State covering 9.5 against Oklahoma is my first lock of the week. I think the Jackrabbits are getting really hot and are actually projected to be number 1 in the Valley. So I think that's a sleeper game for Oklahoma State. I think that's you get fired up if you're the Jackrabbits.
Okay, so yeah, absolutely. The reason why you look at me, I'm looking panicking right now. My phone just disappeared.
It's gone.
It's gone. It's got all my good picks in it. I know no one at the top of my head. I'm going Minnesota money. Yeah, not just money line, but I'm gonna have them covering too. So flip that. Not just covering, but money line too. They originally opened up at -2, hosting North Carolina. No, and now it's flipped over to +2 Minnesota. Give me Minnesota. I like the energy up there in the Twin Cities to open the season off. Okay, because every year as the season progresses, things get a little ugly there in the Twin Cities. But when they can open games with an 0-0 record, fans are a little excited getting that football field. Last year they had that great comeback against Nebraska, and they did the job done. They got the job done on Thursday. Give me the same thing. It's gonna be a hard-nosed battle. I think North Carolina's a more talented team, but give me a Minnesota victory tonight.
So who does North Carolina have quarterbacking now that Drake May's with the Patriots?
I was trying to figure that out. That's a good question. So that's the reason I'm going with Minnesota, just because Drake May's gone.
Yeah.
I saw a video of him last year because I think they opened up against Clemson last year, like a week 0 maybe, or a very early week game. And I saw a video of Drake May doing a 360 dunk in high school. I'm like, this is their quarterback. And yeah, they took it right to Clemson that game. That's when we found out Clemson was gonna be a little false news last year.
Yeah, they had a kind of a flat year. Yeah, there we go. I'll be honest, I didn't finish this segment. I'm gonna go off the cuff. I'm actually looking at the bet slips right now. So the two that you just named. What's fun for the viewers, they're gonna be able to know if you're right as soon as we release. They'll know the result.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get right into Iowa's schedule. And I'm locking that -22.5. I think semi-healthy Cade, we'll get into that, and just an excitement without Ferentz, we'll get into that.
Yep, take the words
I'd
out
lock
of my
him
mouth.
in for -22.5.
Okay, that's a bold pick, brother.
That's a lot of points for those Hawkeyes to
That's
score.
a lot of points for them Hawkeyes. My last pick will be number 1 Georgia versus number 14 Clemson. Clemson's coming to the house, the number 1 team. Give me Georgia -13. You don't just walk into Georgia. You see what they did last year to Florida State. They're freaking pissed off that they get put into the playoffs. They're going to send a message to start the year, especially against a false Clemson team. They're not covering 13 against Georgia.
So that line is actually moved, at least on DraftKings. I'm not sure what app you're using. That looks like it's -13.5 now. I think that.
So I'm right
from Clemson.
So I'm right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I think that's a great pick. For my last bet, let's look at the slip here. Like I said, I didn't do the research beforehand.
Sometimes you got to go field, brother.
Yeah, let's do one off the cuff because this is honestly how I do.
Sometimes I don't bet until I get 3 easy eddies in me.
Yeah, I'm excited for that first Saturday. Just having a couple beers, filling up the watch room, all the buddies. See, I'm getting things like Merrimack. There's just so much. I don't want Merrimack Air Force. Let's see here. How do you feel about Texas being in the SEC this year?
It'll be good for them. It's no different than Texas A&M joining the SEC back in the day. You would think the same thing. You're like, well, that's gonna be weird, and then they kind of fit in. And all of a sudden, Johnny Manziel comes in and beats number 1 Alabama and goes for the Heisman. It just takes one weird year for them to be considered the SEC school.
Speaking of that, I was watching one of those Untolds, the Johnny Manziel story.
Yeah, it's great
on Netflix. So good, and I'd forgotten
his grandpa
that first year.
His grandpa was not embezzling, but laundering money for him.
Yeah. There was a lot of weird stuff.
Grandpa's a fucking G, he said.
God, there was a lot of weird stuff going on with the college football world before NIL, and I know that it's still kind of a touchy subject, but it just feels like it's headed in the right direction because the last thing you want is for under the table weird deals.
Dude, imagine if Caitlin Clark didn't have the NIL opportunities when she was in college. Could you imagine how many millions?
By the time she was done with school, how much money was she making? Estimate.
Oh my God. Probably the first 2 years, not much. She didn't really blow up until her junior year, and things obviously kicked off immediately after the Final Four, getting some Nike deals. She's probably making around $4 million, if I had to guess, right away. She probably made around $15 million by the end of her college career. It could be way more. It could be triple that. I don't know.
And I don't know.
I don't know if
athlete.
I don't know if she was getting commission off things. That's a whole different story. But contract wise, she's probably making around $15 million at total wise.
And what, like 3-4 years ago, that would have been $0. Yeah, I mean, and it makes so much sense. You have a star like that generating so much revenue for the universities. It just feels
those
like
players
it's the
were
right
making
thing to
money
do.
anyways illegally. Just make it legal so they can get freaking paid.
Nate, I'm going to just get this segment over with and go with Virginia Tech minus 13.5 against Vanderbilt. I feel like Vanderbilt hasn't been good since 2006.
I'm guessing it's at Virginia Tech.
It's actually not. It's at Vanderbilt.
Oh.
So
No Enter Sandman. They'll welcome the Hokies onto the field. You got to go to Vanderbilt, one of the worst SEC schools in the country. All right.
There you go. Lock it in. I'm not sure if that last one's a lock, so, take what you will from that one, but.
I will. We'll see how it goes. My team's probably getting beat right now as I picked it, but let's jump in the Iowa State schedule here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We'll kick off the year with Iowa State. So, if I'm correct, Vegas has them getting 7.5 wins this year. Let's see if we can go through the schedule and we can't find at least 8 wins for them. If I'm an Iowa State fan, Bryce, and this is going to be the same thing for Iowa this year. If I'm one of these fans, especially Iowa State this year, a quick glimpse at the schedule, you should be feeling pretty freaking awesome. You should be pretty damn excited. You're returning 17 starters from the previous year when the Iowa State was looking like one of the top 15 offenses in the country with freshman Rocco Buck, who's a Big 12 freshman there. You got Abu Sama, Jalen Knoll, Jalen Higgins at receiving core. The receivers have always been stacked. They've always torched. I've seen it with my own eyes. They've torched Iowa for years. And then you got a solid defense. You got Caleb Bacon, one of the best last names, especially for a Midwest school, getting all sorts of NIL deals after that. He's going to be leading that defense. You should be excited. Absolutely, you should be excited. What's your thoughts right here?
Off the bat, I see some wins. I think if you're not starting 2-1, that's a really scary place to be.
Should we just go game by game here?
Let's go game by game.
We'll go. Bryce and I will go game by game here. We're not going to each say win or loss. We're going to come to mutual interest here. We'll agree upon a win or loss, and at the end, we'll tally up here. So I think we can agree here. North Dakota, probably a win. The one thing about North Dakota, they beat North Dakota State last year. The one scary statistic about them, I think they have like 32 to 40 new incomers this year. It's a lot. That's damn near half, 3/4 of your team right there. So that's going to be a sudden switch from them, but I don't think they're going to cause any Iowa State problems. Maybe the first quarter when Iowa State opens up the offense, I think they're going to let loose.
Love it. I think that's a winnable game. I don't see North Dakota being a player in the NBC. We just talked about South Dakota State, North Dakota State. UNI, I believe, is going to be a better team than them. That should be a win, and I know that they're excited that they're not playing the Panthers this year.
Yeah. I was listening to a bunch of Iowa State podcasters. They're like, God, it's like about damn time. It is stressful having to play a rival because obviously Northern Iowa's going to step it up a game. It's all the kids who want to play against that team, and they've been playing the same damn game for how many years. So I'm glad to see a new team come into Jack Drive Stadium and opening up the year here. Here it is. I think when you're talking about either or schedule, Bryce, I think this is the biggest game of the year for either team. The reason why is because of the weakness of schedule. And then this is such an important game to lead off the year. Iowa State coming to the Kinnick Stadium at 2:30 in week 2. And from what tell me if you're seeing the same thing out here, Bryce. I'm seeing a lot of people super optimistic about Iowa State walking into Kinnick and getting this W. I mean, don't get me wrong. You're returning 17 starters. Same with Iowa. You're going to be a good team. You looked really good last year. One of those games was a snow game. I mean, that's an exception, okay? Let's not get too hyped up. Nobody can move in the snow. It was one of the best games I've ever seen. I love that game. I had Iowa State money line. And then you go shit the bed against Memphis in a bowl game. And you guys are all this optimistic that we're going to walk right into Iowa when Matt Campbell is 1-5. Kirk Ferentz is Matt Campbell's daddy. I love Matt Campbell. But he's been his daddy in this series. And I don't know. I'm calling out Chris Hassel and Chris Williams on this one. They're walking through Iowa like it's nothing here. Go by history here. Iowa State gets better when it comes October towards the end of the season. They continuously struggle against Iowa, especially Matt Campbell. And then you're going to walk into Kinnick and you're just going to chalk it up as a quick W. I think otherwise here. What's your thoughts?
You brought up Becht being freshman player of the year. You brought up Sama, who looked amazing in that snow game. I'm expecting them to have a breakout year. I'm expecting them to have a really good offense. You're playing one of the better defenses that week in week 2 at their home stadium, Kinnick Stadium. I don't see them being crisp and sharp, like you said. I think that they're probably a late season team. I do think that we'll find 8 wins for them later on in this schedule. I don't think that the Iowa Hawkeyes will be one of those wins.
No, I don't either. Now, is it possible they can go in a kick and beat them? Absolutely it is. But would I confidently sit there and say, yeah, we're going to walk? I don't know where that's happening. I wouldn't say that, but could it happen? Absolutely. It happened 2 years ago. All right, so we got the Cyclones here at 1-1 to open the season. They're going to go against Arkansas State. I don't think we got to talk much about this one. We'll give them 2-1.
That's a W.
Now things get interesting. We go to Houston. I don't know much about Houston this year. I know they're traditionally with the air raid. I think Iowa State's a little angry after a 2-1 start, thinking they should be 3-0. I think they go into Houston and get a dub here.
I like that too. If we're talking a basketball matchup, this is one of my favorite games in the Big 12 season.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite, 2 of my favorite games last year watching college basketball.
Big 12 basketball is so good.
I think we're talking another W here. 3-1 to start the season for the Clones.
And then we bring Baylor. I can't remember. Did Baylor sneak out of it? I think Baylor might have snuck one out. I might get drilled in this. I'm not going to even say it. I think Baylor comes in this year, and I would say gets a W. Or are you disagreeing?
I'm not sure yet. And this is like that fun preseason speculation part of the season. I know that we're getting it out right before the season starts. I think that this might be one where they slip up. One of those first big matchups in the Big 12. You come off the high of winning your first Big 12 matchup with Houston, and then maybe there's a little bit of a hangover. I'm not going to say a definitive L, but I don't think it's a walkthrough W.
Okay. Would you lean more W with me?
I'll lean with you.
Okay.
We have to be
right
optimistic.
now we got
it's the start of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, you should be looking at the schedule. You should be feeling optimistic. You got household names returning with 17 people. You got the entire offensive line. I know they're one of the worst offensive lines in the country last year, but they're all returning. You got experience behind in front of Rocco Beck and Abu Sama. And as I said, things started clicking last year. If you play to their expectation, they should do that. But you know the same thing every year, in and out with Iowa State. They got to get that monkey off their back. They can't get past 75 or 7-5 or maybe even 8-4. Can they finally get to that 9-game winning season? They had Brock Purdy, all those players there, and they still struggled their senior year. Mm-hmm. And it's just it's a thing. It's a thing at Iowa State.
Brees and Kohler and Purdy and
Montgomery.
They can do it, and I know that they get a lot of little brother hate across the state. When it comes to Iowa, more teams lean Iowa, even if they didn't graduate from Iowa. We get it. We know that you're always pretty much coming into the season with a chip on your back. Iowa State fans could not be more optimistic about every season and could not be more disappointed by the time that 11 to 12 game season is over. Here's the thing. They can do it. I want to see it. Let's keep moving down the list. I think that we have a realistic chance here starting 4-1.
Yeah, I do too. Here could be a potential problem. West Virginia, you don't just walk into Morgantown, one of the best home field advantages in the entire country. West Virginia is kind of like a state of Iowa. Not a lot going there besides their college teams. And when they show up, they show up there. The home fields make such an enormous impact, just like Jack Trice and Kinnick Stadium. And we're going to find out real quick this weekend. I think the game of the week is Penn State. Number 9, Penn State and Lions travel to Morgantown to face the unranked West Virginia Mountaineers. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a tight game going with the final half of the fourth quarter here.
Love it.
That being said, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and we'll make a pick.
The thing I didn't account for with the Baylor game is that it's at home. Going into Morgantown is going to be tough. What do we say here? Is that a second loss of the season?
I think we moved to 4-2.
Okay. I think that's fair.
And the next one's a tricky one. University of Central Florida Knights coming to town. UCF is good. I think if Iowa State goes to UCF, I think Iowa State gets beat by 14 points. I think UCF come to Iowa State. I think Iowa State handles them.
I like that. I think UCF has something to prove first year in the Big 12. I don't think that it's going to be a very nice second year in the Big 12.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to be a fun time in Jack Trice for UCF.
I might be wrong, Bryce. I might be right. It might be the first year. I can't remember.
These days, it's very hard to keep track of.
No shit. How many teams has the Big 10 got now? Is it 16 or 18 or something like that?
Yeah, and it'll look the same for the Big 12 coming up here soon. I think they're even adding more teams next year.
Yeah. Well, and the reason why you should feel really optimistic immediately when you're Iowa State fans looking at the schedule, you could chalk the 2 automatic losses from Texas and Oklahoma out the trash. You don't have to worry about that this year. And so all these teams, every single team, you look at the schedule, is beatable.
Yes.
So we're going to give Iowa State here a 5-2 start. That's damn well for an Iowa State program. You're going to be moving in with Texas Tech, and go ahead and lead that one off.
It almost feels like you have to kind of start 5-2, 6-1. You don't want to be 5-3 going into Utah and Kansas State at the end of the year. I would assume that those teams hold up. They may not be 12-16 as they're listed here, but you got to think that they're probably close to the top 30 teams in the nation. And I think you have to almost start 5-2. I'm going to say they're taking that Texas Tech game, and then the gauntlet kind of starts. Like maybe those first few gut punches really towards the end of the season.
So you're taking a W versus Texas Tech Raiders.
I am. I'm taking that W.
I agree. We got Iowa State at 6-2, and here's one of the more interesting games of the year for Iowa State. We're gonna go to number 22, Kansas. Kansas has been an up-and-coming program, and this year's a little weird because they're not. This game will be hosted at Arrowhead Stadium. Did you know that?
I did not know that. That's really
that makes it a home field advantage, I think, for Iowa State. Iowa State fans live in Kansas City. They own that city, and credit to them. Big 12 basketball tournament has made that happen for them. Iowa State fans are going to cover 50% of the fans there in Arrowhead Stadium. That is the only reason I'm going to give Iowa State a win here.
Love that. And if that's how they start the season, they're very well looking at a top 20 ranking. I'll ride that. I think that's a great point. I didn't know they were playing at Arrowhead. Like you said, they've been competitive in the Big 12, if not a top 3 finisher in the Big 12 in basketball a lot of years. They've run that city. Love that insight, because I don't know if I would have had that opinion had I not known they'd be playing at Arrowhead.
Bryce, it is November 16th. We have the Cyclones at 6-2. When is the last time Iowa State has been in this position? I mean, and I don't feel wrong about it. I don't feel wrong about any of the picks that we made. We got them 6-2 heading into November 16th. We got Cincinnati Bearcats coming to town. Iowa State did go down to Cincinnati last year and fumbled a loss there. Should have won that game probably. Cincinnati took over at the end. Do we got them at 8-2, or what are we at? 7-2 right now?
I think I do. That seems like a must win as well. I don't remember the last time Cincinnati was really, really good. So again, it's another one of those games that you've identified as a winnable game. Let's chalk them up as 8-2. We're not going to be pessimists on this show. So until we see the data, until we start seeing Iowa State really fumble the bag, no offense, we know that they can do. Let's put them at 8-2.
The Cyclones are at 8-2, coming across probably one of the more challenging games of the year outside of Iowa. Could be right up there with Iowa at Utah. One of the most Utah's one of my favorite football programs in the entire country. Won the Pac-12 not last year but the year before with Cam Rising. One of my favorite. I think is a top 7 quarterback in the entire country. He's been there forever. He didn't play last year because he tore his ACL, I believe, and the year prior at versus Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. And he's finally back this year. Looking for Utah to be a lethal weapon. And probably the favorites of the Big 12 Conference.
I think you have to chalk them up as an L here. The one thing that we have not accounted for is that Iowa State loves a good upset. I think it's going to be tough to do when you're out in Utah.
Yep. You see the one thing about Utah, how all their players, every single player in the football team from NIL deal got a brand new, I think it was a Toyota Tacoma truck.
Interesting. I did
Every
not see
single
that.
player on the football team. It happened for sure last year, and I just came across Instagram Reels today. I don't know if it happened again this year or if that was just a rerun from last year. But
That's
talk about
really cool. Guys like Coach Prime and it sounds like whoever's coaching over at Utah are really hooking their guys up.
Yeah, no, that's why I love it. One of my favorite
cool.
programs in the country. They got nothing going on there other than some Utah and Utah State athletics. Bryce, we got the Cyclones at 8-3 here, heading into the final game. So far, we already got them over the over for the 7.5, going against Kansas State. As we know, Kansas State game last year was one of the best college football games I've ever seen in my entire life. Will they get a foot of snow?
You gotta love a good snow game, especially when it was a kind of a mild winter last year. What was that? November, massive snow down in Lawrence, and I don't see them winning this game. You know what? I don't necessarily not see them winning this game. I don't see them getting a 10-win season. So I don't know if I'm being biased here subconsciously. I don't want to give them this win because I feel like somewhere down the road, it's a 9-3 season. It's not a 10-2 season. I want to hear your bit on this, but
Don't we got them at
think it
8-3
might be a
right now?
rebound.
We got them at 8-3
Hold
right
on, hold
now.
on. Iowa loss. What do you think?
Who would I think as like what their record, you and I have them as right now?
Yeah, what do we got
Shit,
them at?
so we had Iowa lost. Do we have winning at Houston? I might flip my answer all of a sudden midway through this. I can't remember whether winning at Houston or not.
This is about the level of analytics that I want to be in. I don't want to act like we know what we're
No,
doing.
absolutely. We don't jack shit. Absolutely. So let's
I
chalk
think
it up right now.
Go ahead.
I think we had them beating Houston because they're 4-1 going to West Virginia. West Virginia would put them at 5-2, and then they lose Utah, so that gives them 3 losses. That puts them at 8-3.
Yep.
Okay, so 8-3, head into the final game of the season. I think Kansas State gets them. I agree. I think Kansas State sneaks one out. The reason I'm saying this, I'm going off history here. Iowa State has that monkey on their back. A 9-win season would be a successful season for Iowa State. Can they get over that? I hope they can. I would love to see a 9-3 season from Iowa State. But I think they fall to 8-4.
I agree. I think that somewhere down the line, they might beat a team like Utah, but they're going to lose to a team like UCF, West Virginia, Baylor. Somewhere in the line, they're going to get that 4th loss, I think. I think that I like the team that's coming back. We've said a lot of good things. I think that it's probably an 8-4 season. Now let's get to the good stuff.
Woo! So we got Iowa State 8-4. We're gonna head over here to Iowa. Iowa's the same thing when it comes to Vegas. What do we got? They have Iowa State. Iowa at 7.5 wins. I think it actually just jumped up to 8, but we're gonna go off 7.5 because that's what I hammered them at. We got here we go. Iowa opening up the season. Oh, some Iowa news, by the way. We got Kirk Ferentz, Iowa's receiver coach. John Budemeyer being suspended, I think is the best thing that's ever happened to Iowa football, Bryce. Do you hear me out?
Because it's going to fire them up?
Yes, of course it's going to fire them up. That's my second biggest thing of it. The biggest thing we could take away from this is that we finally know that Kirk Ferentz is freaking cheating. About damn time. How do you expect to go to compete with the Michigans, the Blue Bloods of Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, playing by the rules? You don't stand a fucking chance until you start doing some shit. So it's good to know that Kirk's getting his hands a little filthy. This should pump the team up. But even though if it was only reaching out to God, what they heard? I heard that Chris Williams on his podcast today described it as Kirk Ferentz getting suspended is equivalent to a priest getting pulled over for a speeding ticket.
Right.
Like, come on, why are you giving the most accurate thing I've ever heard? It's funny to me, but it's good to know that Kirk isn't always playing by the rules.
Get a little dirt on the guy. It just seems like he's lived such a blue collar, like hard nosed, but just hardworking kind of life. Like not a lot of record to him. I like it. I kind of like having a little grid on Kirk Ferentz. So tell me this: did it come from the NCAA or did it come from the university? Because I kind of heard both things, and I never looked back into it. Because at the end of the day, he got suspended for that game, and I didn't really care.
That's a good question. I think I'm at the same point. I saw it and I got more excited than anything. I said, hell yeah, that's the best thing that could have happened. What's open up with a little firing for ass? Free Ferentz. Free Ferentz. Let's get 1-0 in the season. And I'm saying same thing as I started with the Iowa State. If you're an Iowa fan, you should be looking at the schedule and be like, it lines in our favor. You should be excited. Obviously, Iowa won a ton of close games, but that's something they've always done. Can they keep doing it? I don't know. They're gonna kill me before I get halfway through the season one of the years. But you should you should look at this season. I think they're gonna be favored in 10 out of their 12 games. We'll go by game here. I think they handle Illinois. You got them covering the 22.5. I don't think Illinois State's a problem. It might be the same situation last year when Iowa hosted Western Michigan. We look a little shaky in the first quarter, and then we realize we are Iowa. We're going to outpower you, outstrength you. We're going to push the ball down your field, and then we'll get you in that chokehold. It's one of the best defenses in the country. I mean, we returned 17 starters. A majority of those are the defensive playmakers. Jay Higgins, Nick Jackson. We got Craig on the defensive line. Yaya Black. Sebastian Castro, I think, is one of the best tacklers, cornerbacks, cash positions in the entire country. I think is a for sure all-American. Iowa has seen this effect in the recent years where like a Desmond King goes off in the junior year and they just don't throw the ball their way towards the senior year. I mean, why would you? So you might not see the numbers, but his presence on the field is going to be incredibly noticeable. So, yeah, we got Iowa.
Well, that's what's so cool about him is that he will nose in there and he will make a tackle. So even if they're not throwing, kind of like they did to DeJean last year, you're going to see a lot of Castro.
He's the Cuban Missile, baby. That's what they call him.
They've got so many returning guys on defense. I like the deep backfield. I think that the running
three-headed monster.
I mean, they're not going to put up, I don't think, Abu Sama numbers or, like Brees Hall type numbers or Sean Green numbers. I do think that they're going to be really serviceable. They're going to be able to catch the ball in the backfield, which we know is going to be part of that Iowa game. I feel really good about the season. I know that you're going to be sweating because you're one of the most diehard Hawkeye fans I know. And I'm going to be right there with you, bud.
I appreciate that. Hopefully, as we work towards the schedule, we're going to find out which game you're going to become tailgating to. Speaking of tailgating, the brother and I Colb's got a new truck this year. We're finally tailgating on the truck. We got a new speaker, tent, a Blackstone grill. We're going to upgrade our tailgating scene a little bit this year, and we can't wait. So we'll go down the schedule. We'll find out which game we think you can get there to Iowa City.
I'm pumped for it. I know that Myrtle Lot is currently under construction, so that's kind of a wrench in the plan, but
we have moved the Finkbein. It's locked. Love it. We got Iowa. So we got Iowa 2-0. What do you think of the Iowa State? How do you think it's gonna be a close game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be like the last few matchups we've seen from Iowa State and Iowa. I don't think that. I think the offense will be better. I don't think it's going to be like 35 points a game. I don't think we're going to have a McNutt, Beathard, Stanzi kind of output. I think it's going to be better. I don't think it's going to be completely healed. I know that for years we've been plagued with the Brian Ferentz offense. I think that we improve. I do kind of hold some of my feelings that when Kirk Ferentz is there, as long as he's there, they're probably going to run a similar system. I do think that it improves. For that reason, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be ugly. And don't be surprised if there's a muffed punt to win the game.
As I say, I think it might come down to, I think we say the same thing every year, that who makes the first big play. Iowa made the first big play last year to Sebastian Castro pick 6 to go 14-0. Or is it 17-0 because it was 10-0 at that point. But, so moving on. We got Iowa 2-0. Troy, I think we're going to chalk that up as a W. Iowa should be 3-0 at this point. Going into, I think, the second biggest game of the year. The reason why is just because how early it comes on the schedule. You got the redeem year to make up for the Cooper DeJean bullshit, punt return, and bring it back to Minnesota and bring Floyd home.
It wasn't a fair catch. And I know that every Minnesota fan and Iowa State fan and anybody that's anti-Iowa will say, well, it was an invalid fair catch. I don't care. That was a W for Iowa, made possible by DeJean's incredible effort. I think the Hawks redeemed themselves, and I think we start the season 4-0.
It was a game I highly considered going out to this year. It's prime time at Minnesota on October 5th. Probably going to get the greatest weather you'll have all football season. The reason I didn't pull the ticket yet, Iowa opens
For
up
Ohio
with
State, correct?
No, Minnesota.
Okay.
I want to go to the game because Iowa opens up with 3 home games right away.
Right.
I'm like, that's 4 straight games and going on the road. But here we go. So we got Iowa 4-0, probably ranked at what, 18 right now, maybe 19, 20.
Yeah, they
18.
didn't notch a lot on their belt there. I think you probably move up a couple, but
Head into Columbus. We know what Ohio State is doing to people, and from what I hear, this is the most talented Ohio State team anyone has ever seen. Ranked
Can
at
I
the
be
number
honest
one.
with you?
Yeah.
I don't think that there's any way that we go into their hometown and come away with a W. I think that all the hype is probably real. We know what that team's been. We know that Harbaugh's been the thorn in Ohio State's side the last few years. I think Ohio State goes most likely 12-0, and they probably wipe the slate clean in the playoff as well. I think that they're that good.
Yeah. The day of, I'll be excited.
Yeah.
What was it, 2 years ago when Lucas Van Ness sacked C.J. Stroud, picked it up and ran it for a touchdown. Pits Iowa up 7-3. Like, we're going to win this fucking game. I'm hammering the money line. And then we get Jack Campbell has an interception, 2 on top of it. And then we end up getting beat by, 20 or 25 or something like that.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead. We'll chalk that up as a quick L for the first loss of the season. Iowa moves to 4-1, going to one of my favorite on the paper home games of the year. We got Washington Husky in the new Big Ten joinee coming to Kinnick Stadium. They get a little October 12th weather. Woo! I can't wait for this game. Is this a game that you're coming to?
I got it circled. I want to make it happen. We originally tried to buy tickets, very shortly after they announced that they had sold out all their season tickets. So that being said, we're going to try and scalp. I don't know if Darren and I have been to a game together, so we want to make that happen. But yes, I think it's a for sure tailgate, and I think, if I may be so bold, that's one where Kinnick is going to be rocking. It's one of those Pac-12 schools that's moved over to the Big Ten. I do have them as a W in this game because I think that we're going to be so pumped for it.
Yeah, I don't know how many predictions you've seen about Washington this year. Obviously, the national championship runner-ups. Yeah. They lost a lot of talent. People have them projected as the third or fourth last team.
I think
in
lowest,
yeah, the Big Ten. That's worse, 12 out of 16 or something like that. Yeah. I'm going to give Iowa the W. I think it's going to be closer than you think it is, though, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa, they'll keep it close. They'll keep it in fashion. It'll be a fun, awesome game for that day, and I hope it's beautiful weather, as it should be for October 12th. Yeah. So we got the Hawkeyes 5-1, right where they should be, about halfway through this, or is halfway through the season. I don't like this game, Bryce. We're going to Michigan State. Cooper DeJean saves our ass. They got a new head coach over there on East Lansing. Are you slipping with me on this one? Are we going 5-2?
I don't know a whole lot about Michigan State. I know that they've been terrible the last few seasons, but things change quickly in college football. So I will slide with you because I just don't frankly see us being one of those 11-1 teams anyway.
I think it's good. Go ahead.
Like you said, I mean, you're going to Lansing. That's a tough environment, and they have history. I'm not sure what to expect from them, but I'll work with you on this if you want to give them that L.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of the ugliest games we see all year. This is right where Iowa has that one ugly game. It's about the same part of the year. 6-1 last year when we had the ugly-ass game versus Minnesota, and then you kind of regroup. Kirk gets them right on the same page. When all hope is lost, they march forward. Iowa, what do you got about 5-2, headed into Northwestern. W. Give me that W.
Love it.
Yeah.
On any given year, Indiana, Purdue, and Northwestern can be that thorn in your side. I don't think that that's going to be the case this year. Especially after, if we're thinking it goes the way it's going on paper here, they're going to want to redeem themselves. So let's give them that dub.
Iowa goes 6-2. They got one of the big rivals, the Heartland Trophy, is currently in Iowa City. Iowa goes to Wisconsin last year. Sebastian Castro has his coming out party. One of the best games I've ever seen a Cash corner ever play in the history of my life. Wisconsin comes to town. Give me the Hawks. Give me the Hawks 7-2. I think Iowa's playing its best football of the year at this point. they take care of Wisconsin and Kinnick Stadium on a night game.
Once again, Kinnick Stadium proves to be probably the difference in this game. You don't want to be at Camp Randall late in the season when Wisconsin's just starting to get their running game going. I think we win this game, but it's the thing about Iowa is that nothing's ever going to be like 31-3. Like, we haven't seen one of those teams in a long time. So I think it's another close one. I like the W, but it's not going to be like, wow, we might be one of those top 10 teams in the nation.
I agree.
Yet.
Yeah. We'll see what Tim Lester's got in control with Cade McNamara and the Iowa offense this year. Iowa 7-2, marched here to the final leg of the season. We go to the West Coast, baby.
Call this the vacation game.
I know a few people back from my hometown have already booked their tickets. They're all heading to Los Angeles to watch us take on the UCLA Bruins, which I think could be a potential trap game. Or do you think it's a no problem? We take care of business there in the West Coast.
We know that Iowa travels. They love us in the bowl committee. We're going to bring people down to the Outback Bowl. I know that that's really not what we're shooting for this year. And honestly, if you're even talking bowls anymore without we're with the 12-team playoff in play, it's kind of an irrelevant conversation. I think that we treat this game similar to a bowl game. I think we're gonna have a great crowd there. That's a lot of travel. I could see this being one of those slip-up games, like you're saying.
The thing with these West Coast, you just don't know anything about them, That's when it gets weird. And then you go to their stadium and you play. They might not bring. You've seen UCLA crowds the last years. They don't bring anyone into the game. It might be a half full stadium. How do you get juiced up for it? I don't feel good about it. I honestly don't feel good about it.
Yeah, and there's just so many things to do in California, right? Like, we don't have a pro team. We don't have beaches. We have Lake Red Rock. We have Panorama. We have Okoboji. We have Clear Lake. Like, they have the Pacific Ocean. There's things to do out there. And for that reason, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they've had a lot of great years since, like, Maurice Jones-Drew. Can I bring that name out of nowhere? I still think it's a trap game. But these guys, they got a new thing coming to the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's reviving for almost any program. Obviously not for Oregon or Washington. They've been there, and USC too. Correct me if I'm sorry. I apologize there. It could be a good thing for UCLA solely bringing in there. So we'll see.
That's an iffy game for me. But
you going loss?
I'll work with you if you feel like it's a trap game.
I think it is 7-3 Iowa.
Okay. I think it's fair.
Final two games of the year. I think Iowa goes out to Maryland. Maryland's gonna be. They got Tua's Tagovailoa's brother still there. He's been there for.
Doesn't scare me at all.
He doesn't scare me at all. Iowa went there. Was it 2020? Was it 2021? Was the year we were the number 2 team in the country. Iowa went out there the week prior to beating Penn State at home, and this absolute blew Maryland. Iowa was about 4-point underdog, and this went beat by Maryland by 40.
2021.
Just took care of them. I think we know how Maryland works. Even though Brian Ferentz is there as their analytic dude, ain't concerned about it. Let's go take care of the Terps there in Maryland, and let's bring the season to 8-3 with a huge game. The Nebraska Cornhuskers, they returned 16 or 17 starters to this season. They're going to be loaded. It's the same thing about Iowa State. Can they get that monkey off their back and finally establish themselves as a legitimate program here in the Big Ten? The weird thing about this game this year, Bryce, it's your Black Friday, but it's at 6:30. Typically, when it's at like 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah, more.
We got a night game coming to Kinnick Stadium.
Mm-hmm. With all the turkey and gravy in your belly, you could get a night game at Kinnick. There's nothing better than beating Nebraska at home.
I'll have to find out. Yeah, I'm going to be drunk for sure at that game in Iowa City. It's going to be weird. Super late in the season being at Kinnick will be the latest I've ever been at Kinnick. I'm looking forward to that. Give me Iowa, baby. Give me the Hawks, 9-3 at the end of the season.
I love that season. I think that's a realistic prediction. I wanted to say that we are maybe a little optimistic with Iowa State's schedule. I feel like this is a realistic prediction. If we turn out to be a different team than we might have expected during this little run through here, man, they may be a 10-2 team. I love this schedule. I think that it's one that you want to see at least 9 wins in without having more than one preseason ranked team. I like that. 9-3 is not a bad place to be. Does it get us into the playoff, though?
No. It depends. if any of the teams we play throughout the season, if Nebraska's ranked, if Michigan State ends up being ranked, and how bad you lose to Ohio State. Ohio State's, you can't just go into Columbus, get your ass kicked by 30, have 3 losses throughout the season with one of the easiest schedules in the conference, and be expected to make the playoff. I don't think either is. I think Iowa's got to go 10-2, 9-3 if some of the opponents end up having a decent season and we take some W's there. We compete in Columbus. 10-2, Iowa sneaks into the college playoff would be a goal.
That seems like it's probably the best case scenario this year. It's just going to be hard to beat Ohio State. And just kind of the same way that you expect Iowa State to kind of be around that 7-5 number, you kind of expect Iowa to give 1 or 2 games away. Maybe not 2, but there's going to be that one game where you're like, man, these guys don't look very good. And then Kirk will have the boys reeling for the rest of the season.
He usually gets the team together at the right time. I will trust in Kirk. Free ference. Let's get him back on the sideline for Cyhawk Week in Week 2. You guys, that basically wraps up our podcast besides our last segment of the day. I can't wait for this segment, Bryce. We're going to start from 7, march our way down to 1. Bryce and I are each going to be ranking our 7 favorite towns in the state of Iowa. This is based off what do you like about it, how you feel about it. Nothing really too crazy. This is how we each other feel about it. Go ahead and shoot me your number 7 favorite town in the state of Iowa.
So we're going to start out favorite towns a little different than you might have expected, and it's really going to be off vibes and the general feeling of what the name of the town makes you feel, less so than when you drive through the town and maybe realize that there's nothing there. And that's going to be What Cheer.
What Cheer, Iowa. What Cheer, Iowa is one of my favorite name towns in the state of Iowa.
Yes.
Can't tell you if I've ever been there. It's a hell of a pick, Bryce. People What Cheer got to be cheering right now.
They better be really excited because it's one of my favorite towns. I haven't spent a lot of time there. There's not a ton to do.
Where the hell is it?
Man,
I'm pretty good at logistics, but where the hell is What Cheer? It's like Northwest Iowa?
You'll have to Google Maps. I can pull it up.
I think it's Northwest Iowa, isn't it?
Ish.
North Central, Northwest? Or like Western Iowa, West Central?
It's actually pretty close to where I grew up. So
Northwest Iowa.
Here, Des Moines. There's What Cheer. So just east of Des Moines, there, north of Oskaloosa.
Oh, damn. So it's East Iowa or Central Iowa.
More central.
Oh, shit. I was thinking it was way Northwest Iowa. Okay. So
Who you got for number 7?
People are going to hate on this one. This one's going to cause a lot of conflict. Anyone out there in the state of Iowa. At a population of 101,000 people, give me Davenport, Iowa. And hear me out.
Not what I expected.
Everyone is shaking their screens right now. Hear me out. Before I ever went to Davenport would have been my 7 least favorite towns in the state of Iowa. Trashed in my entire life. Never been there. Hated it for no reason. Heard nothing but terrible things about it. And now I meet my girlfriend at the time, my now wife. She's going to school at St. Ambrose in Davenport, so I'm making weekly visits there. And the more and more, I'm loving it.
Okay,
they have
all right.
awesome, Bryce, they have some of the best food ever. No matter where you went, it was somewhere new. It was some of the best environment/food options, bottomless mimosas, wherever we went. They have the best movie theater in the state of Iowa. It's hands down. They're right on the river. They have one of the best casinos. They have 2 casinos there. Madison lived right next to one of the casinos. We were making weekly visits there, printing money, going to one of our favorite restaurants after, and they just had a cool downtown vibe. I fucking loved it. I loved it.
Revitalized that downtown very well. Those old river towns have they have the bones of something really cool, and if you get some reinvestment, that's really kind of fun to hang out.
That's what they've done. I loved it.
So I haven't spent a lot of
time
there, but I did go to a classmate's wedding a couple years ago, and then spent some time in Bettendorf as well. And I actually have a much better opinion of Davenport than previously held. So
good.
I'm with you. I didn't expect it, but I'm with you.
I'm here to ruffle little feathers. We'll do a little snake here. Number 6. It's a little biased.
Okay.
The reason why I'm going to say this town, let's go ahead. Algona, Iowa. The reason why I say Algona, Iowa, it's where I'm originally from, but not for that reason. Algona, Iowa is one of your typical small town Iowa communities in the state of Iowa. It's what Iowa's built off. We're not built off large cities, Bryce. We're built off the small town that's surrounded by cornfields where everybody kind of knows everybody. They have the Iowa culture in it. And I could say the same. I could replace Algona with probably about 30 other towns in the state of Iowa. So I'm giving Algona the benefit of the doubt from being born and raised there. it grew. I love Iowa because of Laguna.
Understood. And they have a special place in your heart for several reasons. And I know that we did spend a 4th of July there together, and it was a great time. They hold a motorcycle rally that's one of the bigger in the state, if not the biggest.
Oh, it's biggest in the state. Well, like second biggest in the country, next to the one in Sioux Falls, or South Dakota, whatever it's called, Sturgis.
Yeah. So I have a lot of good feelings about Algona as well. I haven't spent more than 4 or 5 days there, but when I did spend some time there, I made sure to become a Mug Club member at Pips, right?
Peps.
Yeah. So that'll always hold a special place in my heart as well.
Peps, Peps.
Nate, I was kind of laughing because not of Algona, but more so because I also had my hometown at number 6. So I have Pella.
Okay.
And it, for all that it gets a bad rap for, it's a preppy Dutch, heavily Christian town. It was a good place to grow up. It's kind of fun.
And that's why we're ranking the things, Bryce.
Right.
We had a good experience growing up there, and I loved it. I wouldn't trade anywhere I grew up for. Would I live there? No. Now, probably not, but
no.
Wouldn't pick anywhere else.
Probably not, but, a wooden shoe here and a little bit of homemade Dutch cheeseburger there, and all of a sudden you can have a pretty good time. The biggest thing with Pella is that they've now started to implement a brewery or a rooftop bar where you can have spirits, and it didn't feel like it was allowed for a long time, and they're trying to keep it at, it's like fun, but it's like when the teacher was like, have fun quietly kind of thing.
Yeah, I got ya. Go ahead, follow me back with your number 5.
At number 5, I've got Ames, Iowa, a place that I think if they knew that we were talking about Ames this positively, they wouldn't have thought it was an Iowa Chill podcast. But I'm going to come in and say that Iowa State finishes somewhere between 8-4 and 9-3, and I'm also going to put them on my top 7 list because I've never had a bad time when I've been in Ames.
Bryce, my number 5 was a population of 66,950 people, Ames, Iowa.
Yeah.
Seems like we're on the same page here, and you took the words right out of my mouth. I've never had a bad time there. I went there, and I loved every second I was in Ames. Some of the best times of my life took place in Ames. It's right near Des Moines. I think it's a great location, central part of the state. I love Ames. I have nothing against it.
Especially like the college age, when you're having a good time. I think that they did something right there by not allowing underage kids to even be in the bar. I know that that's kind of a controversial topic with Iowa City. You can kind of just hang out in the bar at whatever age you are.
Until 10 o'clock.
18. Yeah. Whatever they did with that Ames culture, it's been good every time I've been there.
I agree. Number 4. This might ruffle little feathers here and there. I'm going to go with the population of 709,466. That is the metro of Des Moines. I'm going to plug them all into one. I don't want to go and pick and choose. Back in I'd say a couple years ago, Des Moines would be number 1. Nowadays, it's not to me. It's becoming too much for me.
Understood.
I love going there to visit. Obviously, it's number 4 city in the state of Iowa for me. But it is becoming a little overwhelming for me. The traffic, almost too much to do. The positive is all my friends live there.
Yeah,
so I love seeing it. There's always something to do. Again, with Des Moines, I've always had one of my, by far my favorite downtown bar district is in Des Moines. Not even close compared to Iowa City or Ames. Throw that out the window. It's Des Moines. I love Des Moines, but like I said, becoming a little too much for me in my small town Iowa boy.
I think that's fair. The older that we get, and you'll see this as I approach my number 4, but we've moved progressively further west. As we moved from Cedar Falls to Des Moines, we have kept moving west, and we're truly kind of doing what you're articulating here, getting away from the hustle and bustle. So we're currently in Waukee, and we're moving further and further away. So we're on the very edge of Waukee come our next lease in October. So coming in at number 4, I've got Waukee, one of my favorite towns that used to be kind of small. It's now growing like crazy. Super Target and $10 million sportsplex and water park. And
they're going to have like 10 high schools there before you know it. It's unreal. They just keep splitting
third
off.
High school. Yeah, it's growing too quickly for my liking because I thought we had kind of found a little gem just outside the metro. Yeah. It still holds that number 4 spot for me, but man, it's growing a little fast for my liking.
My coworker was telling me, he's from Earlham, Iowa. He was telling me, he's like, they're gonna have a tough time building farther west once you get out the outskirts of Des Moines towards Earlham or something like that, because some rich farmer, old farmer, he's like 95 years old,
Not going to give up his land.
won't just give up. It's in his will, just will not give up his land.
And that makes me happy because I would love to keep at least some native farmland / you get, west of us is Van Meter.
Pretty. One of my favorite
Adel,
towns.
Yeah, I know that we did a drive-through about a year ago or two, and
Hooked me.
it's cool to keep some of that stuff like intact. I would hate to see a Van Meter go to like a 3A school. I love seeing them be like a 1A baseball powerhouse. Like that's
A
one of my
1A
favorite
/
things.
2A type of school. That's who they are. He's smart running 3A, so it's not that cool. Yeah, I think we're at number 3. Go ahead.
Number 3. Can't believe I'm going to say this because I've sworn to never move back, but Cedar Falls makes my number 3. And I've got a few reasons. One, I graduated from the University of Northern Iowa, and I had a good time, and I met a lot of good people, lifelong friends. I spent a lot of my time in school at the Cedar Falls Hill, 23rd and College Hill. A lot has changed, and a lot of reinvestment has been made by the community into the Main Street area, which has become quickly one of the better downtown boutique main streets in the entire state.
We could almost spend an entire podcast talking about Cedar Falls because, Bryce, my number 3 is a population of 40,746 people, Cedar Falls, Iowa. You took it right out of my mouth. I'm still here for a reason. I love this town. It's just big enough to where I can get all my necessities in. If I want to go play basketball, I got a great gym I can go play basketball at. A bunch of great high schools around here. I'm going to go watch a lot of Friday Night Lights here in Hudson, Iowa. And Cedar Falls has got a brand new high school that they will finally not be playing in the Dome. They're actually playing almost half a mile west of the Dome in their brand new stadium, their brand new high school. But yeah, downtown, oh my God, so clean, so
Looks
beautiful.
Great. It looks
such
awesome,
a good
dude.
time. Roxy's.
I
Shout
want to
out
hate
Roxy's.
it because to me it's like you're almost going back to your college town, and like I want to hate it a little bit and just be like, yeah, I'm grown up, I've moved on, but it's just they've done the right things to that town. It's like like you said, the right size.
They have
number 3.
they have done the right thing, making it feel more comfortable for our age group for sure. That we're not feeling too seniorish sitting around. Number 2.
Are we gonna have another matching one here?
75,233, Iowa City, Iowa.
Iowa City, Iowa. Number 2.
I swear we didn't do
Here's
this.
my list.
Yeah.
I promise you. Yeah.
Oh shit! Hopefully I didn't spoil it, but yeah, I didn't see your number 1. Yeah,
Yeah, we did that, but it was so shaky.
I don't think we have to really explain it clear. We're on the same page, but
Yeah.
you guys been to Iowa City. I love Iowa City. Iowa City is sacred to me. I didn't go to college at Iowa because one, I would probably party too much, and 2, it's sacred to me. I look forward to every single Saturday being dedicated to Iowa City, and I will always treat Iowa City that way. I lived there for a year in Tiffin. I loved it during the fall, but after that, I'm like, I'm getting too much of it. Get me out, bring it sacred to me. So it's a holy land.
There's something about like when you live in the town that you've always loved that it loses some of that luster. And I love that you're keeping Iowa City at arm's length. I think that's exactly how you should live. I think that you've made the right choice there. And for me, it's the Ped Mall and the memories that we made in college. It's Kinnick Stadium. It's a little bit of that industrial like Rivertown that you get with just a little bit more edge. And it'll always be number 2 for me.
I'm laughing right now because I'm curious to see what your number 1 is.
Oh God,
is me? I think no. You start off.
No, it won't. We will not. If it is, then it's going to be insane. I brought up this town earlier in the podcast, so if you remember what we started with, you'll know it. But no, I don't think we have the same one.
Van Meter.
Van Meter is a great one, but it's not the small town I picked around the Des Moines area.
Go ahead.
So I chose Polk City. Polk City is home to the Polk City Creamery, the Polk City Pub. It was a stop for us at Ragbri, and it brought me back to life when I nearly collapsed from heat exhaustion. It holds the only Arnold Palmer course in the entire state with the Tournament Club of Iowa, quickly becoming one of the football powerhouses, I believe, in the 3 or 4A circuit, and easy access to Saylorville. One of my favorite little suburban neighborhoods around the Des Moines area, just south of Ankeny and just north of Des Moines. It's a really special place.
Bro, I did not expect that one.
Yep.
Fluff, our good friend Connor Garman, shout to him. Used to live in Polk City. So I know
that's a fluff place.
I know a little bit about Polk City. I had a good time. I didn't know much about it, but we just kind of went to his place. But damn, all right,
out of left field.
Cool. That'll complete Bryce's list. Number 1 coming in from my list is a population of 7,680 people, Decorah, Iowa.
I was debating Decorah.
Go on. The most beautiful town, city in the state of Iowa. It's not even close. I went to my good friend Coop's bachelor party there about 4 years ago. Maybe it's more than that. I can't remember. 5-6 years ago. And I felt like I was in West Virginia. That was my first time I was there.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that experience. Now that I'm a driver for my company, anytime we had northeastern routes, give me Decorah. Yeah. I want to drive through that every time and just soak in it. I'm in such a good mood. It's so beautiful. The water's so clear. It goes into a little valley there. Give me
just kind of
every
like,
day
it's like the Shire,
week.
right? It's just one of those like special places. It just feels almost like it's too perfect. Then you layer on Toppling Goliath. You know, we had a couple of Easy Eddies, but you can't even pretend like Toppling Goliath isn't one of the bigger breweries in the entire state. But yeah, special place. One of my favorite places to go in the fall. We actually went a couple of years to a pumpkin patch. Ooh, and just to kind of enjoy the scenery around Decorah.
Yeah, it was fun. I did a bunch of fall trips up there last year for my company, and I just hope I do it again here soon.
Great list, brother. Great list.
Yeah, I love that. I think I already got the list for next week. I'm not gonna spoil you guys, but it's gonna be up there. It's gonna be good. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're back.
Yeah, we're back, and I kind of apologize for getting dark on everything. We're recording at night this time, but we'll be back on by the time this comes out Friday, so like a couple days later on a Monday, if we're willing to do the Labor Day recording.
Yep, that's our plan Monday. If not, maybe project around Tuesday, Wednesday release. We'll see how the boys are feeling.
Cool. Yeah, dude, it was fun. I'm excited to be back. I didn't expect to be going for an hour and a half, but
no, either I was expecting a 45, 50-minute podcast. This one is going to be a little bit longer just because we're highlighting the entire season. Other than that, moving forward, it'll just be a quick game recap.
Dude, I'm pumped for the recaps.
And then we'll do a quick preview for the upcoming game.
Guess what's up, the
Never stop the
Mississippi?
season, baby.
Kicking back, yeah, evidently. Everybody grab your people, come gather with me. City folk, redneck, and in between, let's chill.